Thank you so much, Karen. That was lovely. Wholeness. One whole month dedicated to this idea of wholeness. And why? Because in our spiritual teachings, wholeness is a foundational principle upon which our teaching is based. It's the idea that the universe is one undivided, perfect spiritual whole, and that emanates from one ultimate reality, one source. We often say the universe is the body of God. And so the universal spirit then, as the ultimate of wholeness, indivisible, whole, perfect, complete, means that that nothing is outside of itself, nothing is missing, nothing is broken, nothing is separate from this one. And because this one ultimate reality is right where we are, that is who we are. We are this one ultimate wholeness of being. So some of the things that come from that, when you have this idea, this grand idea of wholeness, is the awareness then that, okay, what's this thing called opposites then that we seem to be experiencing? And within this wholeness, there is a field of, this is a field of all potentiality and all possibility. And so what appear to be opposites, I'm saying apparent opposites, are simply differing experiences that are within this unified whole. Things like disease, suffering, and lack, they're not fundamental realities, but again, experiences that come from some sort of belief in separation from the wholeness. And also human beings are, as I said before, are distinct individualizations of this universal mind, this universal wholeness. And that means that we're not broken off pieces of the universe. We are, and take this in, the universe, the wholeness of God itself, expressing uniquely through our particular consciousness, our particular set of beliefs and perspectives, and this thing that we call uniqueness, individuality, and so on. And what it makes for is variety. Variety is the spice of life, right? Variety. Rather than everybody being alike, which could be pretty darn boring. So this uniqueness is something that we value. The other piece of this idea of wholeness is because we are of the one creator expressing through and as us, that means that our word has creative power built into it. Our beliefs, that field of consciousness through which the spirit flows, has creative properties to it. And the beauty of it is we also understand, and this is the beautiful role of spiritual mind treatment. We also understand that when we align our thoughts, our beliefs, our awareness with spiritual truth, with this idea of wholeness, that we are of this wholeness, then what happens is our conditions change by aligning with that truth, by speaking our word. And we can speak our whatever that is into how that ever wholeness is showing up in our lives. Health, well-being, loving relationship, etc. So that's what we believe about wholeness in this community. And again, the thing that I has been so powerful for me throughout all the years, because I studied all kinds of things too before I came to this teaching, is what I love about this teaching is that it draws from all the different spiritual traditions from the quantum sciences. There's a beautiful book I was sharing with Monica that really touched me. I was sharing it with her yesterday, called Quantum Revelation by Paul Levy, where he talks about a spirituality informed by quantum physics, which is pretty much what we're talking about. It's a wholeness, a unified field. And we are that unified field in expression uniquely and individually. It's pretty exciting to me. I get excited about those things, about the connection between everything. And so with that in mind, today, the focus I would like to put on all of this is this idea of one global family. And what does that mean to be the consciousness of wholeness in relationship to others where no one is excluded? And I'm going to tell you, I know in this world of effects, that can be challenging sometimes, to say, well, that person's included in my global family. And yet, yes, that is what we continue to work toward, is understanding the importance of seeing the wholeness, seeing the divine in every person. So we can cultivate that consciousness of wholeness in a couple different ways that I'm going to be sharing today. And one is creating a sense of belonging without othering. How many of you heard the term othering before? Okay, some of you have. Well, othering is a concept that's being used quite often in this day and age. We had actually a whole workshop on it with one of our ministers, local ministers, who came up, and it's the idea that we as human beings tend to create division, a belonging where there's division by us versus them. That's the tendency. So there's us and there's them, and what we believe is positive, what they believe is negative, or we're positive, they're negative, or we're good, they're bad, whatever it is. We're right, they're wrong, just on and on and on. And what happens with that kind of thinking is that we can tend to treat the others, that's the othering, others as less than human. That's how violence takes place. That's how racism and all other kinds of things take place, through this idea of othering, us versus them, we're better, blah, blah, blah. So creating belonging without othering is a really expansive concept. It's an idea of consciously choosing to confront our hidden beliefs and our biases so that we break out of those patterns of othering, and therefore transform those hidden beliefs and biases into a sense of inclusivity. Well, to me, it's no wonder. I love synchronicities. How yesterday was Nelson Mandela Day. Anybody know that? Nelson Mandela Day, honoring South Africa's first black president, a symbol of justice and reconciliation, a role model of creating belonging without othering. Think about what the task he had before him after 27 years of being in prison for opposing apartheid, which was ultimately about dividing and creating an us versus them kind of culture. And so here he is with this task of creating belonging without othering, with two groups who were in conflict with each other for decades. Think about that. And yet, how did he do this? I mean, he made this really peaceful transition into democracy that I'm sure had the whole world in awe. Totally inspiring. How did he do it? He called for forgiveness. He called for forgiveness. He called for people letting go of their old concepts of each other, letting go of the divisiveness, and coming into one whole, complete nation of people that belong to each other and belong to the nation. So what did he do? Forgiveness despite the injustices, loving even after generations of hate. Pretty powerful example. And in addition to that, humility as a leader, using his power to unify instead of divide. Pretty amazing. What a wonderful role model of leadership, of creating belonging without othering. So one of the tools, one of the practices that has come forth from this idea of creating belonging without othering is a concept called bridging. Anybody hear of the concept of bridging, practice of bridging? Well, you're going to hear about it now. There is a man who coined this idea. His name is John A. Powell, and he said, "We recognize and celebrate our differences, where we, the people, includes all the people. We, the people, includes all the people." So bridging is a practice where two or more individuals or groups come together with who have acknowledged differences of perspective, opinion, beliefs, whatever, and do so while affirming their identities. It's not like you have to give up your identity and become like everybody else. Affirming their identities and encouraging inclusive group identity. So, that's what Nelson Mandela did. He didn't ask people to give up their differences, but to become more inclusive and see each other as one. So bridging then rejects the idea of us versus them without erasing uniqueness. So bridging then requires it's a big deal. It requires compassion, it requires patience, it requires the willingness to remain open-minded and to courageously speak your truth authentically, and to listen with curiosity and wonder, to listen deeply to others. So it's an exchange. It's a conscious decision to build relationship, to build community. So bridging honors the humanity in all, even those whose views are radically different from ours. So I would like to give you a beautiful example of that I found online. And so if you can imagine, in this particular community, which is Charlottesville, following local unrest, the religious leaders, the clergy of the area, in a very historically divided religious community, formed something called the Charlottesville Clergy Collective, multiracial, interfaith coalition that actively chose to overcome the illusion of separation. What did they do? I mean, they're working on creating inclusive community, intentional relationship building, and also having come out of that something really active, which means civic action, getting involved together in civic action. That's what the Parliament of World Religions actually does on a much larger scale. It's really this kind of thing. It's bridging, and it's collective civic action that it's dedicated to. So here's one of the pieces that's really important to the bridging process. And by the way, if you want to learn any more about the bridging process, there's a community called Othering and Belonging Institute. It's interesting, they have the othering in there, I guess because they're trying to draw your attention to that issue. The Othering and Belonging Institute that lays out these steps that help to bridge. instead of sweeping deep-seated history and racial tensions under the rug, so in other words, it's what we've been teaching all along, no spiritual bypass. Do not, no, oh, everything's fine, let's just do the civic action together. No, they instead of sweeping these deep-seated racial tensions, beliefs, the hidden beliefs and stuff under the rug, they acknowledged the painful history of their own institutions, and they addressed it head on. I think a lot about what Centers for Spiritual Living really endeavored to do a couple years ago, and I participated, which is to break down to uproot, to face and uproot hidden biases and beliefs, and to heal them so that we can work together better as a greater community. So there's no pushing down trauma. We know what happens when you push down trauma. When you push down those hidden beliefs, is they come out sideways in ways that we feel really bad about later on. So it is important to address it. So I think about the courage that's required in these particular clergy, and their determination to stick with the process, even with all of the trauma and the history that they had to uncover and deal with directly. So what happens in the process then is a shift from us versus them to one of shared community, shared humanity. We're in this together. They had candid, vulnerable conversations, and then they did the communal work together to foster a deep sense of true belonging. A deep sense of true belonging. So as we take this in, let's breathe. And I'm going to invite you to ask, and actually as a community, to ask ourselves the question, what can I, as an individual, what can we as a community do to more fully live this consciousness of wholeness? What can we do? What is ours? What are we being called to do, to live this consciousness of wholeness? I know it begins by being willing to face our biases and hidden beliefs, anything that excludes others from our hearts, by choosing to see the divine in all, seeing all as our global family, all as our global family, and by widening our circle of belonging through the process of bridging. Intentionally building relationships, and then moving into shared civic action. When I was thinking about civic action, I was also thinking, this is also John Lewis weekend. I don't know how many of you know that, but my daughter Christy is really involved in a group called Indivisible, and sends us information to let us know what's going on. But she let me know that this is John Lewis weekend, and she said, "Mom, please, if you can, speak to the idea of what it is that we're trying to do." And it really is about inclusion. Indivisible, think of the name of that group. It's creating a sense of unity and a greater sense of belonging through civic action. So let's turn within in prayer. In full awareness that the wholeness, this idea of wholeness, the completeness and the perfection of spirit is an inheritance. It's a divine inheritance. So in each and every one of us as unique individualizations of that one, there is nothing missing. There's nothing broken. There's no separation. We are the divine itself, the wholeness of the divine itself, uniquely expressed through our unique perspectives and way of showing up in this world. And I am so grateful for that. While I know it is important for each of us to face any hidden beliefs that create exclusion or a sense of separation, I know that this community is up to the task and has been involved in it for a long time. And therefore, I know what we are here for is something far greater than we can even imagine. We are here to be that wholeness consciousness, that consciousness of love, intelligence, wisdom, right action here on this planet. Seeing God in everyone and everything and living from that place. So I give my thanks for what is unfolding as each and every one of us, I release this word to the action of universal law, the universal law of divine mind that responds to this word through manifestation. And let us open our hearts and minds to receive this truth with a powerful yes, and so it is. Thank you so much, everyone. Deb.
Whatever God is, I am. Whatever God is, I am. All the beauty of this world is right here in my heart. My imagination is the place I start. Whatever God is, I am. Whatever God is, I am. All the grace of heaven is right here in my mind. And when I surrender, I know that I will find whatever God is, you are. Whatever God is, you are. All the goodness of your soul is shining through your eyes. The more that I can see it, the more I realize whatever God is, we are. Whatever God is, we are. Nothing is impossible underneath the sun when we live within the truth that all of life is one. Whatever God is, I am. Whatever God is, I am. All the joy that I embrace begins and ends with me as I recognize my greatest destiny. Whatever God is, I am. Whatever God is, I am. Whatever God is, I am. I am that I am.
Lovely.
Michelle?